So I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated that some of us are choosing to ignore Donald Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn. I hope that you'll forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon, a known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse, all of this while we...
If there's one thing Trump despises more than losing, it's being publicly humiliated, especially by someone far more admired than he is. So when Michelle Obama dropped some hard truths about his marriage, let's just say he didn't handle it well. The man who spent years obsessing over her husband was now red-faced, furiously typing in all caps, probably pacing around Mar-a-Lago in his signature too-long tie. Was it the sting of the truth? Or was it that Michelle, as always, delivered her words with grace, intelligence, and effortless composure, while he struggled to come up with a comeback that didn't blow up in his face?
Worse. It now seems very clear that this isn't an isolated incident. It's one of countless examples of how he has treated women his whole life. And I have to tell you that I listen to all of this, and I feel it so personally. And I'm sure that many of you do too, particularly the women.
The contrast couldn't be more striking. Michelle Obama exudes confidence without even trying. Graceful, poised, and with a mind sharper than a diamond-tipped laser. When she speaks, people listen, not because she demands attention, but because her words genuinely matter. Then there's Trump, barging into conversations with all the subtlety of a foghorn at a yoga retreat, loud, brash, and desperate to dominate the room, even when he has nothing of substance to contribute.
If you remember when I met with Obama, his wife was very nasty to me the other day. That was not nice. She was very nasty. She said nasty things. I was always very respectful of her, but she got up there, which shows you how nervous they are about what's happening. But she was nasty 2 days ago. She got up and said some bad things she shouldn't have said. They were wrong.
For years, Trump has been fixated on the Obamas like a bitter ex who just can't move on. Barack was everything he wasn't. Cool, charismatic, and effortlessly composed. But Michelle? She posed an even bigger threat to his ego. A brilliant, outspoken woman who didn't just match him, she completely outshined him. That had to burn. Trump's entire persona hinges on being the center of attention. And yet there was Michelle, effortlessly rendering him irrelevant with just a speech, a glance, or worse, her signature move, acting as if he didn't exist at all. And yet, he keeps coming back for more. Every time Michelle Obama says a word about leadership, integrity, or values, Trump seems to take it personally. Maybe it's because, deep down, he knows she embodies everything he does. She built her public image on authenticity, intelligence, and real substance. He built his on, well, let's just say, exaggeration, lawsuits, and a whole lot of spray tan.
Barack and I were raised with so many of the same values. Like, you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond, that you do what you say you're gonna do.
My parents impressed on me the values that you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond, and you do what you say and keep your promise.
That you treat people with dignity and respect, even if you don't know them, and even if you don't agree with them.
That you treat people with respect.
It's no surprise that every time Michelle speaks, Trump unravels. His response is usually a chaotic blend of rage-fueled word salad and thinly veiled insecurity, like repeating, "I'm a successful businessman," enough times will somehow make it true. And let's be honest, his usual tactic for handling powerful women, labeling them nasty or overrated, falls flat when it comes to someone as universally respected as Michelle Obama. Trump's obsession with the Obamas goes far beyond words. For years, he's tried to dismantle their legacy, rolling back policies, undoing reforms, even targeting something as benign as healthy school lunches, as if vegetables had personally insulted him.
It's not normal. This is not politics as usual. This is disgraceful. It is intolerable.
The media was against him. I think they are afraid of his strength. And he was leading this country with peace through strength. Yeah. So as soon he announced that he's running for the president, everything really changed. And I saw it and I said, you know, this will not be very pleasant, but I knew what he's into.
But here's the irony. No matter what he does, Michelle remains untouchable. She doesn't have to stoop to pettiness. She's already won. So why can't Trump let it go? Maybe it's because Michelle embodies everything he isn't. Respected, admired, and beloved across party lines. Maybe it's the way she calls out hypocrisy with clarity and class, never needing to rely on cheap insults or wild conspiracy theories. Or maybe, just maybe, it's because deep down he knows the truth. No matter how many late-night tweets, rants, or desperate posts he throws into the void, Michelle Obama will never lose a minute of sleep over him. And then there was Melania's infamous debut as First Lady. At first, people thought it had to be a joke, a speech lifted almost word for word from Michelle Obama's 2008 address, like a student who just discovered the copy-paste function the night before an assignment. But no, it was real. Melania stood before the nation reciting Michelle's speech as if no one would notice. It wasn't just similar or inspired, it was a direct echo. The internet had a field day. Side-by-side comparisons of the speeches flooded news outlets. While late-night comedians barely had to lift a finger, the whole thing was already comedy gold. But instead of owning up to the obvious plagiarism, the Trump team did what they do best: deflect, deny, and double down. Speechwriters were thrown under the bus. The media was accused of blowing things out of proportion, and somewhere along the way, someone probably even tried to blame Hillary Clinton.
And one of the most fashion-forward first ladies in recent history, leaving the White House, handing off the baton to Melania Trump. So what fashion choices will the new First Lady champion, looking lovely there in a blue Ralph Lauren coat? What have we seen so far, and what can we expect may come?
Meanwhile, Melania remained silent, letting the storm pass and hoping the world would forget that her original speech had already been delivered 8 years earlier by a woman her husband couldn't stand. And it didn't stop there. Over time, eagle-eyed observers started noticing something else. Melania wasn't just borrowing Michelle's words. She seemed to be borrowing her entire image. From her wardrobe choices to her demeanor at public events, even her signature initiative felt familiar. Be Best, Melania's anti-bullying campaign, looked suspiciously like a hollow echo of Michelle's Let's Move, except with far less energy and a heavy dose of irony given who her husband was. And let's not forget the fashion moments. Remember that iconic black sleeveless dress Michelle wore at her first White House Christmas event? A nearly identical silhouette magically surfaced on Melania years later. The chic, modern outfits Michelle pulled off with ease, Melania's wardrobe seemed to echo them again and again. And, coincidence? Maybe, once. But when it happens repeatedly, people start to raise eyebrows. Trump, of course, brushed it all off. He didn't see a problem, probably because in his world, originality is overrated and lawsuits are a solution to everything. If anyone pointed out the obvious similarities, he'd dismiss it as fake news, or insist Melania's version was somehow superior. The irony, the very family that spent years trying to erase the Obama's legacy couldn't seem to stop borrowing from it. Michelle, true to form, never acknowledged the drama. She didn't need to. While Melania was busy rebranding recycled ideas, Michelle was out there continuing to lead by example, effortlessly being the role model Melania struggled to imitate.
Advice for Mrs. Trump?
You know, we talked about the kids, but, you know, my offer to Melania was, you know, you really don't know what you don't know until you're here. So the door is open, as I've told her, and as Laura Bush told me, you know, and as other first ladies told me. So I'm not new in this going high thing. I mean, I'm modeling, I'm modeling what was done for me by the Bush.
And that's the fundamental difference. Michelle's influence wasn't just about her words or her wardrobe, it was about her impact. And then came the real talk, the kind that doesn't rely on shouting, name-calling, or all-caps meltdowns on social media. Michelle Obama doesn't need to attack anyone directly. Her words do the heavy lifting. She speaks about integrity, family values, and genuine leadership in a way that makes it glaringly obvious who lacks all three. She never says Trump is a mess. Instead, she offers a picture of what a stable, loving, respectful partnership looks like, and suddenly, all eyes turn to Melania with a quiet, "You good?" Because, let's be honest, Trump's marriage has always played out like one of the world's most uncomfortable reality shows. The stiff body language, the cold stares, the now economic hand swats, where Melania brushes off Trump's attempts at affection like he's a mosquito. And it's not just an isolated moment, it's a recurring pattern. An ongoing public display of "please get away from me," making it clear that this isn't anyone's idea of a fairy tale romance. So when Michelle talks about what a real partnership looks like, it resonates. She and Barack built their relationship on mutual respect, humor, and unwavering support. A bond so authentic it only highlights just how transactional and strained Trump's marriage seems by comparison.
Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
While Michelle shares heartfelt stories of late-night talks, shared dreams, and the real struggles and triumphs of marriage, Trump's version of affection is different. He brags in interviews about how much his wife supposedly respects him, while Melania stares off into the distance like she's waiting to be rescued. And then there's the contrast in how they speak about their spouses. Michelle talks about Barack with deep admiration, his integrity, his leadership, the way he supports her without needing the spotlight. Trump, on the other hand, treats Melania like a stage prop, occasionally tossing out lines about how people love her before launching back into a monologue about himself. The thing is, Michelle doesn't have to mention Trump by name. She doesn't need to call out the cold glances, the stiff interactions, or the way Melania visibly recoils from his touch. She just describes what love, respect, and true partnership look like, and the contrast does the rest. And right on cue, Trump reacted exactly how everyone expected. He lost it. The moment Michelle's words started circulating, he was already deep into a rage post on Truth Social, thumbs flying, probably sweating through his monogram cuffs. The first post was a classic all-caps excessive exclamation points and just the right amount of misspellings that make you wonder if he typed it with his eyes closed. Something like, "Michelle Obama, the most nasty first lady in history, even worse than Crook Hillary, attacking me because she's jealous. Everyone loves Melania. Sad." Ah, the jealousy angle, Trump's go-to move. In his world, every person who criticizes him secretly wants to be him. The idea that Michelle Obama, a woman with global influence, respect, and a happy marriage, would trade places with a guy who can't even keep a casino afloat? It's comedy gold. Then came the damage control, the usual scramble from his team to shift the conversation anywhere else, maybe back to Obama's birth certificate, perhaps a sudden concern about Michelle's college thesis, or another rant about windmills. Anything to avoid the glaring fact that, once again, Michelle Obama spoke and the world listened. But the funniest part, the more Trump rages, the worse it gets. Michelle never directly insulted him. She didn't need to. He's out here melting down over a woman who simply described what a real, loving partnership looks like. No insults, no personal attacks, just undeniable facts that hit far too close to home. And his response? Full-on unhinged hysteria, proving her point in real time.
Michelle Obama said yesterday that there's no hope. But I assume she was talking about the past, not the future, because I'm telling you, we have tremendous hope, and we have tremendous promise and tremendous potential. We are going to be so successful as a country again.
And just like that, the internet did what it does best. Took Trump's meltdown and turned it into pure entertainment. Within minutes, social media was flooded with side-by-side comparisons of Michelle and Melania's speeches. Clip after clip, post after post. It was like watching a bad student try to pass off Wikipedia as original work. Memes rolled in at lightning speed. One particularly brutal one showed Michelle in her elegant blue dress captioned "The Blueprint" right next to Melania in an eerily similar outfit with the words "The Xerox." Others featured Melania's infamous 2016 speech, now with subtitles reading, "As a young girl growing up on the south side of Chicago, because at this point, why not go all in?" Then came the deep dive theories. Twitter was ablaze with people analyzing why Melania always seemed one awkward handshake away from a full-on escape plan. Every clip of her dodging Trump's attempts at affection resurfaced: the hand swats, the stiff body language, the icy stares. One user even posted a slow-motion breakdown of Melania's expression at a past inauguration, captioned, "When you realize you should have read the prenup more carefully." Comedians wasted no time piling on. Late-night hosts had a field day, turning Trump's all-caps meltdown into comedy gold. Even Trump supporters struggled to defend it. Some tried, of course, blaming fake news or accusing selective editing, but it was hard to spin a word-for-word speech copy. At a certain point, even they had to admit, yeah, that's kind of bad. And that's the thing. Michelle Obama doesn't even have to try. That's what makes it so infuriating for Trump. She speaks with grace, intelligence, and authenticity, and people listen. She doesn't need all-caps rage posts or a fleet of yes-men scrambling to defend her. She just exists. Effortlessly respected, while Trump, despite his billions, his presidency, and his nonstop need for attention, can't seem to command the same level of admiration. It's a contrast that couldn't be clearer. On one side, a woman who built a legacy on hard work, integrity, and a genuine connection with people. On the other, a man who built his legacy on branding, bluster, and a reality show where he got to fire people.
Notice that you went back to the White House recently. You haven't been back.
No.
Since
Wasn't invited.
The
Ooh, shade. You know, that's a tradition. You do your official portraits. The next president is supposed to invite you back to hang them. We were never invited back. So these pictures.
Michelle walks into a room and people lean in to hear what she has to say. Trump walks into a room and people brace themselves for whatever rant is coming next. But it's deeper than just a personality clash. Trump and his base have always had a problem with powerful, intelligent women. The louder and more confident they are, the more they're seen as a threat. Whether it's Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, or Michelle herself, the pattern is the same. Mock, belittle, and try to undermine them at every turn. It's why Melania's copy-paste scandal was brushed off while Michelle's bare arms caused a full-blown moral crisis. And yet Michelle never has to stoop to his level. She doesn't engage in Twitter feuds, doesn't fire back with insults, and certainly doesn't need to remind people that she's very smart. Her actions speak for themselves. That's what truly eats away at Trump. No amount of money, power, or self-aggrandizing can buy what Michelle Obama naturally commands.
You know, she was over her head, and frankly, she should have made the speech live, which she didn't do. She taped it, and it was not only taped, it was taped a long time ago because she had the wrong deaths. She didn't even mention the vice presidential candidate in the speech, and you know, she gets these fawning reviews. If you gave a real review, it wouldn't be so fawning. I thought it was a very divisive speech, extremely divisive. No, I thought her speech was very divisive. And frankly, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Barack Obama. See, we're standing in the White House. I wouldn't be in the White House except for Barack Obama.
New tonight, Melania Trump firing back, responding to Michelle Obama, who says she offered Melania Trump an open phone line, an offer Melania has refused. It's all coming out as Michelle Obama speaks out about her husband, their relationship, being First Lady, and President Trump.
Election out to prove a point? Well, let me tell you who isn't tuning out. Many of the folks who served closest to Trump and saw the danger firsthand. His former vice president, almost half of his former cabinet members, the growing list of four-star generals and Republican governors and senators and former House members, all of whom are not publicly supporting his candidacy the second time around. Y'all hear what I said?
At this point, the playbook is predictable. Trump isn't one to let go of a grudge, especially when it involves someone far more respected than he is. So, what's next? Another rambling rally speech where he calls Michelle nasty and claims she's part of some grand conspiracy? A 3:00 a.m.ing post on Truth Social, laced with typos and conspiracy theories accusing Michelle of ruining Chris? Or maybe he'll bring up Barack's birth certificate again, his go-to distraction when he's spiraling. The real question is whether Melania will even acknowledge the feud. Historically, her strategy has been to avoid direct confrontation instead opting for subtle side-eye glances, carefully worded public statements, and the occasional Christmas decoration disaster. If she does respond, expect something vague and robotic, a cryptic tweet about focusing on positivity while conveniently sidestepping any real acknowledgement of the situation. Or more likely, she'll do what she always does. Stay silent, let Trump embarrass himself, and continue looking like she's mentally drafting her escape plan.
We have a candidate for president who over the course of his lifetime, in the course of this campaign, has said things about women that are so shocking that I simply will not repeat anything here today. It has shaken me to my core in a way that I couldn't have predicted. This was a powerful individual speaking freely and openly about sexually predatory behavior and actually bragging about kissing and groping women, using language so obscene that many of us were worried about our children hearing it when we turn on the TV.
Meanwhile, the public's reaction remains unchanged. Michelle Obama doesn't have to do much to maintain her influence. Her grace and composure continue to speak louder than any of Trump's desperate attempts to stay relevant, and that's exactly what drives him crazy. Trump thrives on back-and-forth battles, drama, and dragging people into his never-ending whirlwind of nonsense. But Michelle? She doesn't need to clap back. She doesn't need to argue. She lets the truth settle in, and that silence, powerful and undeniable, is what rattles him the most. So, as we've seen, no matter how much Trump tries to stir the pot, Michelle Obama remains a force to be reckoned with, effortlessly commanding respect without needing to engage in the drama. Her grace, intelligence, and integrity continue to speak volumes, and that's something Trump can never take away. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think this rivalry will ever simmer down, or is it just part of the ongoing spectacle? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. Until next time, stay informed and stay awesome.